Story 1. I'm a 32F chef. I work in a restaurant, but also get hired for big events, weddings, galas, fundraisers. These jobs aren't like restaurant service. Everything is decided weeks before. The menu, portions, prep. We don't just freestyle dishes for whoever asks, because it throws off service and breaks contracts. Anyway, I was running plating at a charity gala last 2 weeks ago when this woman, maybe mid-40s, dripping in designer clothes, waves me over and demands truffle pasta. It wasn't on the menu. I told her politely the menu was set, and I couldn't make her something different. She didn't hesitate to get angry immediately. Told me a real chef makes what the guest wants, then added, "You're just a help with a fancy knife set. Don't act like you're above me." That one hurt more than I expected. I've been in kitchens for over a decade. I've worked insane hours, burned myself, lost sleep, dealt with constant stress. And she boiled all of that down to just the help. But I bit my tongue and kept working. She didn't stop though. She kept coming back to me during service, complaining louder each time. At one point she cornered me, telling me I'd ruined the vibe and that she'd make sure I never worked another gala again. People actually overheard because she was raising her voice. I felt so small, like I wanted to disappear. It got heated enough that my sous chef had to step in. Thankfully, the event coordinator had my back. They told her straight up I was doing my job as contracted, and she was out of line. Still, word got back to me later that she's been talking trash about me to people in that same social circle, calling me uncooperative and difficult. In our business, reputation is everything. So even though I know I did nothing wrong, it's terrifying that one entitled person can do real damage. And know what's wild? This was a charity gala. She was there to support a cause, but lost her mind over not getting custom pasta. Story 2. In my house, we still have a landline and the same house phone number my parents have had for over 30 years. Jolly's, a UK pet superstore, has had a branch in my hometown for 20 years now, and we've never had an issue with them until 2018. One day, my mum got a phone call from an elderly lady who began asking us about a pet food we had sold her that was the wrong flavor, and if she can come back and replace it. And we had no idea what she was talking about, until she started asking if she was speaking to Jolly's. After telling her that we are not Jolly's and the lady apologizing and laughing about it, she thought nothing of it and carried on with her day. Only to suddenly, for the next 6 months, get multiple phone calls a day from people asking for Jolly's. It turned out that the phone number for our local branch was almost exactly the same as ours, except theirs ended in 88 and our number in 38. About 70% of these callers were fine and even apologetic about calling the wrong number, and my mum would kindly offer them the actual number, but the other 30% would get absolutely belligerent and rude. One particular afternoon, before we had figured out they had such a similar number, I answered the phone and a woman immediately started talking down the phone about her dog and wouldn't stop to listen to me. A little backstory: I just come home from university, so I had no idea at this point this was going on. This isn't word for word as it was 3 years ago, but I remember a lot of it because it was so amusing afterwards. "Karen, I need to bring my dog in to be checked out. He's been sick as ever since I bought him some treats from your shop, so you'll need to give us money back, because it's stuff that's gonna make my dog sick like." Me. Sorry, who is this? I don't know what you're talking about. Excuse me. I'm talking about my poor baby who's currently suffering after eating stuff I bought from your shop this morning, and I need to bring him in to be looked at soon as... At this point, my mum has been quietly telling me about all the weird Jolly's calls we've been getting. "I'm sorry, but you have the wrong number. This isn't Jolly's." Yes you are. I got your number off my receipt, so you have to be Jolly's. Stop lying and get me your manager since you're obviously too lazy to do your own job. I'm really sorry, but this isn't Jolly's. This is my house, and I really need to get back to cooking. I'm sorry, but I really can't help you. Goodbye. I hung up the phone and was on my way back to the kitchen, and the phone went off again. And of course it was Karen back again. "How dare you hang up on me? I'll be coming right in now to get you fired, and I'll be blasting you all over the internet. Me, oh my God, I was trying to be polite before, but this is beyond a joke. This is literally my house, not a pet shop. Leave us alone. Bye. I hung up and left the phone off the receiver so that she wouldn't be able to get through again. Unfortunately, we got a lot of calls like that from various people, some who were even more unpleasant than the Karen had been. My sisters both started just lifting the receiver for long enough to check that it wasn't one of our elderly relatives, then hanging up immediately. A few days after that Karen call, we ended up going to Jolly's to ask about it. Turns out, one of their tills wasn't printing the receipts properly, so the first 8 looked like a 3. And that's why we had been getting so many calls. They said they would sort it and even called us to say they had. Yet the calls persisted for another 2 months before my mom called the phone company and got a filter added. So the callers would have to state their names first and wait for us to accept their call. This stopped most of the calls, but we still from time to time get the odd call for Jolly's, and my mom, kind as ever, will answer to give them the right number. Story 3. Cast. Me, brother, friends 1, 2, and 3, entitled kid, and the nice sister of the entitled kid. So, this happened a few days ago. Me and my brother brought a Nerf gun and 1 Nerf bullet to the park. I bought a pistol that shoots ball darts, and my brother bought a hand cannon. We only bought 1 bullet for the Nerf war there. So, eventually 2 more of my friends came, both carrying high-end Nerf guns, so the war started and enter the entitled kid. Conversation goes as follows. Entitled kid, what are you guys doing? Friend 1, having a Nerf war. Can I join? Friend 2, if you want to join, you are going to have to get a Nerf gun. So the kid saw me sitting to the side with my Nerf gun. Hey, since you are not using it now, can I use it? Me, no, because of what happened last time. What did I do last time? You tried stealing mine and my brother's scooters. I did not. Now let me use the gun. The girl is 9 by the way, but is extremely rude. Me, we said no, so go away. So, one of my friends shot me after she went away, and I shot him back. The entitled kid decides to run in and steal my Nerf dart off the ground. Me, can I have my Nerf dart back? Let me use your scooter and your Nerf gun, then sure. So, I normally would have said, sure, keep it. But my parents said if we lost any bullets, we would be in trouble. Me, no, give it back. The entitled kid runs away with my bullet. My brother was annoyed at her stealing again and shot her in the back. And, of course, she did the same thing to me as my brother. Stealing his bullet and asking for it back, she uses his Nerf gun and scooter. Brother, no, you idiot. Now give me my bullet back, or I will get in trouble by my parents. Entitled kid, I don't care. So, she runs away, and I try to get one of my friends to help us get it back. I did not want to fight because I am really skinny and short for 14. Friend 3, give them their bullets back. Entitled kid, sure, but then I use their Nerf guns and ride their scooters. No, they will never let you do that. Now give it back. The kid runs off again with our bullets. So, a few minutes later, she throws my bullet on the ground and rips my brother's in half. Me, what was that for? You guys deserve it. She then runs home and I show my brother the broken bullet. Brother, who did that? Me, the entitled kid who just ran off. At least I have some more of these bullets at the house. We threw away the bullet and went home. Notes. We did not get in trouble with our parents after telling them what happened. This is my last story of this entitled kid, for now. Don't worry, we kept our scooters at home while we did the Nerf war, not wanting them to get stolen. Story 4. My cousin and I have birthdays within the same week in summer. Our family treats it like a joint celebration. That particular year, something special happened that made our birthday week memorable. My aunt works at an office downtown, and she's friendly with everyone there. One of her coworkers decided to surprise us for our birthdays. My aunt came home from work that evening just after dark, carrying 2 big boxes. My cousin and I were in the living room when she walked in smiling. She told us to come over because someone at work had given her something special for our birthdays. We jumped over the couch to get to those boxes. When we opened them up, we saw brand new Razor scooters with light-up wheels that we'd been begging our parents for months to get us. These were the premium models that cost over $100 each. My cousin grabbed his scooter first and examined all the features. The wheels had LED lights built into them, and when you rode them, they would light up in different colors. I asked if we could try them out right away. My aunt said she didn't see why not, but told us to stay close to the house. We grabbed our new scooters and rushed outside. The sun had just set, so it was the perfect time to test out those light-up wheels. When we started riding them around the driveway and sidewalk, those wheels lit up like fireworks. Blues, reds, greens, and yellows flashed with every push we gave. We must have been out there for about 10 minutes when I noticed movement in one of the houses across the street. There were 2 kids, probably around 8 and 6 years old, pressed against their front window watching us. I recognized them because we used to play together sometimes during the summer. The kids kept pointing at our scooters and talking to each other. I didn't think much of it at first. Kids always get excited when they see cool toys. But then I saw them run away from the window, and a few minutes later, their front door opened. Out came their mother. I'd seen her around the neighborhood before, but we'd never really talked much. She had this unfriendly look on her face. She walked straight across the street toward us, and that's when I knew something was wrong. Her whole body language screamed anger, and she was walking like she was on some kind of mission. The woman asked us what we thought we were doing with those scooters. I was confused by the question. We were obviously riding them. I told her we were riding them because they were birthday presents for us. Then she demanded that we hand them over because her kids wanted them. My cousin and I looked at each other. This woman was demanding that we give her our brand new birthday presents because her children wanted them. My cousin told her no way, that these were ours, and if her kids wanted scooters like these, she could buy some for them. That's when she accused us of stealing them from her kids and demanded we hand them over. We had taken these out of the boxes not even 20 minutes ago. I told her we didn't steal anything, that these were ours, and we had just opened the boxes and brought them outside. Then she threatened to call the police on us for stealing her children's property if we didn't hand the scooters over. My cousin and I realized this woman was out of her mind. We grabbed our scooters and ran back toward the house. We burst through the front door, both talking at the same time, trying to explain what had just happened. My dad was in the kitchen with my aunt when we came running in. He told us to slow down and asked what was going on out there. My cousin explained that this woman across the street was saying we stole our scooters from her kids. I added that she was threatening to call the police on us. My aunt and dad looked at each other with expressions that said they couldn't believe what they were hearing. My aunt asked what she had said. We explained the whole situation, and both adults headed for the front door. My cousin and I followed behind them, still holding our scooters. When we got outside, the woman was standing in our driveway like she owned the place. She had her arms crossed and was tapping her foot. My aunt asked what was going on. The woman claimed that we had stolen those scooters from her kids and she wanted them back. My dad asked how we could have stolen them when we had just taken them out of the boxes not even half an hour ago. The woman insisted that those scooters were birthday presents for her children. She claimed she had worked so hard to save up money to buy them, and now we had somehow stolen them. She asked how we could let this happen to her babies. My aunt went from confused to furious. She told the woman that we didn't steal anything from anybody, that these scooters were gifts from someone at her work. She asked what kind of adult threatens children like that. The woman got even angrier and asked how my aunt dared to accuse her of threatening children. She claimed she had worked double shifts for months to afford those scooters because they were all her kids wanted for their birthdays. She demanded we hand them over before she called the police and had all of us arrested. My dad stepped forward, and I could tell he was trying to stay calm. He told the woman that if she wanted to call the police, she knew where we lived. He said we had the original boxes, the gift cards, and receipts from the store where they were purchased, so she should feel free to make that call. The woman's face turned bright red, and for a moment, I thought she might explode. She stood there opening and closing her mouth like a fish, trying to come up with some kind of response. She yelled that this wasn't over, that we were thieves, and everyone in the neighborhood was going to know about it. With that, she turned around and walked back across the street to her house. She slammed her front door so hard that I'm surprised the windows didn't break. My cousin and I spent the next hour riding our scooters up and down the sidewalk, but this time with both our parents sitting on the front porch watching us. Every few minutes, we'd catch glimpses of the woman peeking out her windows at us, but she never came back outside. The police never showed up that night or any night after that. The woman never approached us again, though she would glare at us whenever she saw us outside with our scooters. About a week later, I saw moving trucks in front of her house. Turns out, she was renting and had been behind on payments for months. The landlord had finally had enough and evicted her family. I found out later from another neighbor that she had been causing problems with several people on the street, always trying to get free stuff by claiming other people had stolen from her or owed her something. My cousin and I rode those scooters almost every day that summer. Story 5. Bit different story to most of the ones on this subreddit, but I think it's still a good fit here. I work as a ranch hand on my girlfriend's family ranch out in the middle of cow country, USA. The closest town has a population of less than 300 just for scale. It's one of the larger ones in the immediate area, over several thousand acres and hundreds of cows. Most graze in the pasture, but there are always some that are fed hay in the barnyard. Unfortunately, we had run out of our stockpile, so we called around to find who had hay to spare, and I was quickly dispatched to fetch. The only place that had hay available was a family-run feed store ranch about halfway between us and what is the closest city. Even cattle country is not immune to sprawl, as farms are slowly turned into estates for bored Karens to move into with their high-priced lawyer husbands. This story involves just such a Karen. Our cast: me, a ranch hand dressed in a stereotypically excessive amount of denim with a Carhartt ball cap and work boots. Karen, your middle-aged white woman dressed to the gills in her English riding outfit, complete with riding crop and helmet. The type of woman to make her husband move to the country so she can ride her horse easier, but then get angry that the farm next door is too loud. What with all the farming and such? For your information, don't make a fool of yourself in such extremely small towns. No one has anything better to do than gossip, especially during COVID. Now that our backdrop is set, I'll get to the point. I had arrived at the feed store to pick up the hay. The store had already started to stack my order, 120 bales, outside for me, as this was going to take 3 trips to complete. I paid for my whole order, and the first and second trips went without issue. I was thinking it was going to be an easy day of stacking hay and driving, and that I would be done early, if only I knew what awaited me on my third trip. I pulled my beat-up Sierra back into the feed store for the third time that day. The sun hung low in the sky and beat down on my neck as I began to load my final bales. I'm sweating away the final hours of the day when a white Escalade X Plus down the dirt driveway. For those that don't know, it's Cadillac attempting to turn a SUV into a pickup with changing any of the SUV parts. As anyone that's driven a proper utility work truck will tell you, it's useless for anything but looking fancy and bragging that you have a pickup at the country club. At first, I paid it no mind and kept loading my bales. It pulls up near my truck. After a pregnant pause, which I could only assume was to straighten her hair and touch up her makeup, Karen emerges from her useless mobile and proceeds to stare at me silently. I give her a nod howdy and keep loading my bales. After each bale, she stamps her fine leather boots in the dirt louder and louder. After 5 bales, Karen had enough. Well, aren't you going to help me? I would like to buy some hay, she basically yells at me. No, but I'm sure someone inside can. Load 10 of these in my Nada pickup, while I go inside to pay, she said as she pointed at my yet-to-be-loaded pile. I tell her no, as they are my bales, and I don't work at the feed store. Yes, you do. You're the hand that loads them. Just do your job and stop being lazy. She turns and stomps off inside, muttering about rude employees. How I was being lazy by loading my own bales, I'll never know. She reemerges as I'm loading the final bales from my pile onto the top of my truck. Seeing the pile gone and none on her pickup, she flies into a rage. Why didn't you load mine? All you stupid rednecks are the same and don't know how to listen. I'm a redhead and burn quite easily, so at that point in the day, I did actually have a sunburn on my neck. She rushes up to me as I again tell her that I do not in fact work at the feed store. I throw the final bale onto the top of the stack on my truck. Loading complete, I brush past her and climb into my truck. She screams, "I won't let you leave till I get my hay." She runs to her still empty 2WD pickup and drives it to the mouth of the driveway and parks across it, blocking the entire entrance. She smugly looks at me from the driver's seat and yells, "Now give me my hay." Now the driveway was flanked on either side by muddy ruts filled with rain from the night before. To a Karen, it would seem impassable, but to a rancher, it's something you drive across multiple times on most days. As Karen sat smugly in the driver's seat thinking she'd bested me, I simply reached down and threw my truck into 4 high, gunned the motor and drove through the mud to get around her down the rest of the driveway and onto the main road. The best part was that my front tire splashed the mud high enough to cover Karen herself, as she had left her window open and managed to get herself stuck as she tried to follow me down the drive. Story 6. Hey, first-time poster here. This happened to me a while ago, and I thought you folks would get a kick out of it. I had reported to work on this particular Monday, where I am the site supervisor for an armed security account, only to discover that the blasted idiots that worked the night shift had not only left me an empty coffee pot, a mortal sin, but had entirely cleaned me out of coffee, leaving me naught but an empty container devoid of my much-needed morning caffeine. The inconsiderate so-and-sos. Grumbling, I go off to the local market to buy some caffeinated goodness, so as to keep my heart beating through my busy day. Mind you, I am in uniform, which means black pants, dress shirt with my badge and various security emblems, my duty belt with firearm, baton, handcuffs, etc., etc. For the sake of those squeamish folk out there that go all white in the face when they see a firearm, I have also donned a windbreaker with security written across the back in 6-foot-high day glow yellow letters. In other words, I looked nothing like any of the folk who worked at this market, whose uniform consisted entirely of a green apron. Now, mind you, I probably could have handled this better, but I was grumpy. It was a Monday morning without coffee after all. So, I am standing just inside the door of the market, reading the chalkboard where they have written their menu for the small cafe. They run when this entitled wench on her cell phone walks up to me and tries to hand me a slip of paper. Okay, I'm a bit confused, but I take it and give it a look. But as soon as I do, the entitled wench makes a little shooing motion, walks away and sits down at a bench by the door. Never says a word to me, doesn't even really look at me, barely acknowledges my existence and just walks off. So I'm kinda annoyed, you might say. Look at this piece of paper, and it's a list of, you guessed it, groceries. What? So I wander over and politely inquire as to what exactly this is, and why she had seen fit to hand it to me. My grocery list, of course. Fetch them for me. I'm in a hurry and can't be bothered. I'm on a very important phone call. And again with the shooing motion. Now, I've been going to this market for nigh unto 5 years, and I can assure you, they don't fetch your groceries for you. So, after some consideration, I very carefully rolled her list into a tight little ball, dropped it on her lap, and loudly growled at her to get moving and do her own shopping, turn around and walk off. I hear her screeching out something behind me, but I just ignore her and keep walking. Now at this point, I am seriously thinking that she will take the hint, see the day-glow letters on my jacket, and buy a clue. But oh no, she's just not that smart. She instead chases me down and starts yelling about how she's going to get me fired and I need to fetch her groceries right now. Trying to remain calm, I politely, honest, but forcefully tell her again, very clearly, I don't work here, do your own damn shopping, lady, and leave. Thinking that's the end of it, off I go to get a cup of wonderful hot coffee at the cafe and then move on to the Isle of Heaven, where I am busily perusing their fine selection of lovely roasted goodness, when who should appear but the entitled wench with a gentleman in tow. She's loudly berating him about his lazy workers, and demanding I be fired on the spot. The poor gentleman looks confusedly at me, then at her and informs her, he doesn't work here, we don't employ security, ma'am. Being a bit of a jerk, I wave at her, give her a big smile, and agree with him. She absolutely loses it, goes completely insane, starts screaming that I need to fetch her groceries right now, or she is going to get us all fired, and she is an important person, and how we will regret treating her this way, blah, blah, blah. The gentleman finally gets a word in edgewise and again informs her I don't work there, and I don't have to do anything for her. That is when I can see a dim little bulb go off in her head, and can see a glimmer, tiny, but there, of understanding beginning to dawn in her eyes. This dim light is however quickly squashed by her overinflated sense of entitlement, as she promptly replies in the snottiest voice possible, I kid you not, with, entitled wench, well, he's obviously a menial of some sort, make him. To say this got me a tad riled up is perhaps an understatement, so I shoved a one-finger salute into her face and told her emphatically to go screw herself. The gentleman quickly got between us and loudly told her, in no uncertain terms, that 1, again I did not work there, and 2, that she needed to get out of his store. Right now. She literally screamed at the top of her lungs, no words, just rage, and started demanding to see someone in charge, so she could get us all fired, and someone better get her her groceries, and how she was going to sue us all. Didn't we know how important she was? The gentleman, who I had naturally assumed was the manager, promptly got right back in her face and yelled over her that he was the owner. His family had owned the place for 20 years, and they had never in all that time done someone's shopping for them, ever. He then grabbed her by the arm and literally dragged her off towards the front of the store. At that point, I was just shaking my head in disbelief, but I just went ahead, made my selection of fine coffees, and wandered over to stand in line to pay for it. As I'm there at the register, the owner came up to me and actually apologized for that woman's behavior, and we shared a what the mess moment. Actually ended up just laughing at how stupid she was. Or crazy, either way. He even tried to let me have the coffee for free, but I thanked him and told him it wasn't his fault that the entitled wench was so stupid, and I was fine with paying for it. Now, you would think that that was the end of it. I mean, it was crazy, but weird stuff happens, people are idiots, whatever. But oh no, dear readers, it would appear that we had both underestimated the depths of that woman's craziness, because as we walked through the door to the outside world, who to our astonishment was there waiting for us? Entitled wench. It turns out she had actually called the police on us, and the dumb brat was out there, screaming at the officer demanding that we be arrested for not serving her, and how she wanted us both fired, and she was going to sue, and that someone had better get her her groceries right now. My jaw dropped, I don't mind saying it, and I was beyond shocked. I honestly started laughing at that point. This lady was certifiably nuts. Because of my job, we happened to work closely with the local PD, so I actually recognized the officer that had responded to the call and gave Officer Betsy a wave when she looked at me. She gave me a grin and walked over asking me about exactly what was going on. We both gave our side of the story, and the owner asked that she be removed from the property, please, as she was at this point causing a scene. Betsy just rolled her eyes, walked over and told the entitled wench that she needed to leave right now, immediately, or she would be charged with trespassing. Now, do you ever have that moment when you can see something bad start to happen, but your mind just can't quite believe it's actually occurring? Well, I saw it start, clear as day, as the entitled wench reared back and started to go off again, and yup, There it was. She actually jammed her finger into Officer Betsy's sternum. Not once, but twice. Might have been a third time, but Officer Betsy had at that point picked her up, flipped her over, and dropped the entitled wench on her head, landed on top of her, had her handcuffed in record time, got back up, opened her door, slid her into the back of her patrol car, and slammed the door on her. And we all just stood there shaking our heads in total disbelief as that woman started to scream and thrash about and kick at the windows of the squad car. She was still doing it as Officer Betsy drove off to the station too.